we looking at rate cuts later this year, or might the Fed actually have to think about increasing rates again in order to tackle that last bit of inflation?
Well, I mean, certainly the pundits who talk about this issue have done a 180. I mean, at the beginning of the year, everybody was convinced that the Fed was going to be cutting rates by March or April, or certainly by June, and we'd probably have three rate cuts, and then it was in the bag, and that was where we were going. And as we've seen for the first part of this year, the progress on bringing inflation down has basically stalled out. I mean, go back to June, July of 2022, inflation peaked at almost 9%, measured by the consumer price index. And by summer of 2023, we'd brought the 9% inflation down to 3%. And everybody went, wow, we're making great progress. Inflation's come down. But basically, since June of last summer, it's been stuck at 3%, 3.5. It'd go to 3.4, 3.3. I mean, we've seen through December, January, February, March. We don't yet have April numbers, but the assumption, or not the assumption, but the data suggests that we're kind of flatlined. Inflation is in that range, and it doesn't appear to be moving. And so, Chairman Powell has certainly signaled that he has no intention of cutting interest rates again until inflation makes further progress toward their 2% goal. And if we don't see that progress, I don't think it's out of the realm of possibility that the Fed may have to entertain another rate hike. I'm sure I'm in the minority view here on that point. And I think the consensus would be, well, maybe we'll just hold it steady and keep it at the 5.25 to 5.5 range that they're at now. And that's probably more likely. But if inflation starts ticking up again, I don't think the Fed has a choice. They're going to have to raise rates.
Mm.
And then that, of course, raises the prospect of unemployment going up, and the chances of the proverbial soft landing obviously is diminished dramatically.
Tori, what do you think?
Well, I feel like the economy's stuck in a chicken and an egg problem right now. Steve's pointed out multiple times on this show that housing and housing costs and housing equivalent costs, are a big part of inflation. And with so many people locking in 2.5% mortgages, years ago, people have got mortgage locks, so they're not moving, which means the supply of housing is low, which means housing costs are high. And as long as housing costs are high, inflation is going to stay high. So, and as long as inflation is high, interest rates are high, which means nobody's moving. So it just sort of creates this vicious cycle. And Steve thinks he's alone in this. Maybe the Fed might have to raise interest rates, but I'm right there with him. I'm first and foremost, I don't think there'll be any rate cuts this year.